This is the Edexcel Paper 3 Foundation Tier from June 2023. Question 1. Write the number 3,107 in figures. So we've got 3,000s, 100, we've got no tens, and we've got 7. 3,107. Question 2. Write 3/10 as a percentage. A percentage is out of 100. So it's 3 out of 10 is the same as what number out of 100? If you times the bottom by 10, you times the top by 10 as well. It's 30%. We could have also typed 3/10 into our calculator. And then to change it into a percentage, times it by 100. And we get 30. So to change a decimal or a fraction into a percentage, times it by 100. Question 3. Simplify m plus m plus m plus m. So we've got 4 m's added together. That's the same as 4 times m. So if it was 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, that would be the same as 4 times 2. So it's 4m. Question 4. Change 4,000 grams to kilograms. 1 kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams. Whenever we see K, it means 1,000. So 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams. So 4,000 grams is 4 kilograms. And question 5, write these numbers in order of size. Start with the smallest. So the smallest is going to be the biggest negative. That's -5. Then -2. Then it goes up through 0. And then 379. Question 6, find the area of the shape. So we could do this by counting squares. Or we could do this by splitting it into 2 shapes and doing length times width to find the areas. Either way. So this one's got a base of 2 and a height of 6. So it's 2 times 6, which is 12. And this one we can see is 2. 12 and 2 make 14. There are 14 squares. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Find the perimeter of the shape. So we've got 6 on the left side. We're going to have 6 on the right side in total as well, made up of 2 here and 4 here. So 6 and 6. And then we've got 3 along the top, made up of 2 and 1. And we've also got 3 along the bottom. So we've got 6, 6, 3 and 3. 6 plus 3 is 9. 2 9s are 18. So 6 plus 3 plus 6 plus 3 is 18 centimeters. So that's the length around the edge of the shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Question 7. Here is a 4-sided spinner. Samina spins the spinner once. Choose the word that best describes the probability that the spinner lands on 2. So there are 2 2s out of 4 in total. So it's 50%, half chance. So that is evens. Evens means equal chance of it happening and not happening. Choose the word that best describes the probability that the spinner lands on a number less than 4. So all of the numbers are less than 4. So it's definitely going to happen. That's certain. It will definitely be a number less than 4 because all the options are less than 4. And Ralph rolls a biased dice once. The probability he gets the number 5 is 0.4. What's the probability he does not get 5? So all the probabilities have to add up to 1 have to add up to a whole. So the chance he doesn't get a 5 is 1 minus 0.4, and that is 0.6. Usually I would have written the 0, I just missed it. 0.6. Question 8. A quadrilateral has 4 right angles and 4 sides of equal length. Write down the mathematical name of this quadrilateral. So it's 4 sides of equal length and 4 right angles. It's a square. The diagram shows a solid shape. Write down the mathematical name of this shape. This one is a cuboid. Question 9. The table shows the number of books read by 4 people in 1 month. Work out the median number of books. So if we write them all in order, it goes 1, then 5, then 7, then 9. We want the middle number. But because there's an even number, we're going to be looking halfway between the 5 and the 7. And halfway between 5 and 7 is 6. So it's the middle of 5 and 7, which is 6. Find the range. The biggest take away the smallest. 9 take away 1 is 8. And part C, draw a bar chart for this information. So we've got number of books up the side. And we're going to have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then we want their names along the bottom. And we're going to have a gap between each bar. So we're going to have to only give them 1 each. It's going to be difficult to fit their names in. We could write their names going down sideways, or we could, they all start with a different letter. So we could have X, M, K, and T, just to save the space. We haven't really been given much space for it. So Zamina is 7. So we draw a bar up to 7. Martha 9. Kezia 1. And Tabby 5. So there is our bar chart. Question 10. Wayne begins walking at 8:30. He walks for 1 hour 45 minutes. He then rests for 15 minutes. He then walks 85 minutes to a cafe. Does Wayne get to the cafe before 12 noon? So we're 8:30 in the morning. We want to add on 1 hour 45 and 15. 45 minutes and 15 minutes, that makes a whole hour. So it's these two make 2 hours in total. So if we add on 2 hours, we get to 10:30. And then we want to add on 85 minutes. So 60 minutes is 1 hour. And 85 minus 60 is another 25 minutes. So 85 minutes, I'll change to 1 hour and 25. So 1 hour and 30 plus 25 is 55. So we're at 11:55. So yes, he does get there before 12. We can use a time button on the calculator for this. So we're starting at 8 hours 30 minutes. We're adding on 1 hour 45 minutes. So that's 10:15. Then we're adding on 0 hours 15 minutes. 10:30. Then we add 0 hours 85 minutes. And it's 11:55. Question 11. Gabriel thinks of a number. He multiplies it by 5, then adds 7. His answer is 72. What number did he think of? So we're starting with a number. We're going to times it by 5. We're going to add 7. And we're going to get out 72. So we need to go backwards to find out what we started with. And we do the opposite operation every time we go back. So 72, instead of adding 7, we do the opposite of adding 7, which is taking 7 away. And 72, take away 7, is 65. So that gets us back to here. He times by 5 to get 65. So we want to do the opposite of timesing by 5. The opposite of multiplication is division. So we divide by 5 to go backwards, and we get 13. And that must be the number. So if you start with 13, times it by 5, you get 65, and add 7, you get 72. Question 12. Some students took a guitar exam. The pie chart shows information about the grades the students got. Write down the modal grade. The mode is the most common. So which one's the biggest? Which is the most common? It's merit. 7 students got a distinction. Work out the total number of students who took the guitar exam. So 105 degrees represents 7 students. So let's divide by 7. So 105 degrees, split it between the 7 students. So it's 15 degrees. 15. So it's 15 degrees per student. So each 15 degrees on this pie chart is 1 student. And in total, so we could work out each one. So fail is 2 15s. So that'd be 2. And we know 7 is distinction. And so on. We could work them out individually. Or we could say the whole way around is 360 degrees. How many 15s make that up? So 360 divided by 15. And that's 24. So in total, there are 24 students. Question 13. Rowena drove from her home to a beach. Here is a travel graph for her journey. Rowena stopped at a cafe on her way to the beach. How many minutes did Rowena take to drive to the cafe? So Rowena drove to the cafe in 30 minutes. So this is her at the cafe. So it took her 30 minutes to get there. Write down the distance from Rowena's home to the cafe. How far is it? It's 10 miles. Rowena stayed at the beach for 1.5 hours. So we're going to need to draw this on. She then drove home without stopping and arrived home at 1600, 4 o'clock. So 1.5 hours. So it's 1:30. So half an hour till 2 o'clock, and then an hour till 3 o'clock. So she stayed at the beach from 1:30, an hour and a half, takes it to 3 o'clock. And then drove home without stopping. Work out the average speed, so that's the travel graph done. Work out the average speed for the journey from the beach back to her house. So she went 35 miles, and it was 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock in 1 hour. And we're measuring speed in how many miles we go per hour, miles per hour. So 35 miles in 1 hour is 35 miles per hour. Question 14. 120 boxes cost £6. 270 bags cost £10. A bag is cheaper than a box. How much cheaper? Give your answer in pence to one decimal place. So that's 600 pence is £6 and 1,000 pence is £10. So 120 boxes for 600p. And we want to know the price of a box. So we do 600p divided by 120. So to get one box, we are dividing by 120. 600 over 120 is 5. So one box is 5p. And the same for the bags, 270 bags for 1,000p. So we want to divide by 270 to find out the cost of one bag. So that will be one bag for, so our £10 split between the 270 bags, they are 3.7p each. So we need to work out the difference. So it's 5 take away 3.7. 5 take away 3.7 is 1.3p. 1.3 pence. Question 15. There are only red beads and green beads in a bag. The ratio of the red beads to green beads is 1 to 4. There are 35 red beads. Work out the total number of beads. We've got a ratio of 1 to 4, so 1 part to 4 parts. And this is red, and it is 35. So that means each box is 35. So we've got 5 lots of 35 in total. So each part is worth 35. There are 5 parts. It's 5 times 35, which is 175 beads. Question 16. Describe fully the single transformation that maps shape A onto shape B. So we can see it's been rotated. So it's a rotation. A onto B. So it's 90 degrees anti-clockwise. And then we need to know the center of rotation. So 3 bits of information. 1, it's a rotation. 2, how far it's been spun around. And 3, the center of the rotation. That's where you hold the tracing paper to spin it around. And it's going to be at the origin. So if you had this shape here, that's where you're starting. And you're spinning it around. So you see it's kind of like this, joined on, and then you spin it around until it's facing up like that. So this point here would now be this point here if it spins around 90 degrees. So the center is at the origin, 0, 0. I hope that made some sense. Question 17. The diagram shows the position of town T. Town R is 55 kilometers from town T on a bearing of 65 degrees. So a bearing is measured from north. So it's 65 degrees here from the north line. And mark R, use a scale of 1 centimeter is 10 kilometers. So it's 5.5 centimeters. So 55 kilometers. Divide it by 10 to get the number of centimeters, 5.5 centimeters. So we're going to measure 65 degrees. Let's put a little mark here just so I can see it. So I'm measuring, and let's put the north line on as well so I can see that. So I'm measuring, I'm going to spin it around. So 0 is lined up with my north line. And then I'm going to measure 65 degrees. So 0 all the way around to 65, which is there. Then I'm going to use the ruler. And again, we're spinning the ruler, spinning the ruler, I hope. Then we're measuring 5.5 centimeters. So there is our position. Mark it with a cross. And it is town R. Question 18. Solve 4 times 2x minus 3 equals 20. So solve means find out what x is. We can start by expanding the brackets. 4 times 2x. 4 times 2 is 8. So 4 times 2x is 8x. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. And that equals 20. To get rid of a minus 12, we add 12 to both sides. So 8x is 32. And then to get rid of a times by 8, we do the opposite of timesing by 8, which is dividing by 8. So 32 divided by 8 is 4. And remember, we've got a calculator, so we can use it. So x is 4. And you can check your answer. So if I did 4 times 2 4s minus 3, I will get 20. Question 19. Jenny invests £3,000 for 6 years at Y% simple interest per year. So it's going to be the same amount of interest every single year. At the end of 6 years, Jenny has received a total of £450 in interest. Work out the value of Y. So £450 in 6 years. So how much each year? Remember, it's the same amount of interest every year in simple interest. So that's £75 each year. And what's the interest rate? So 75 out of 3,000 each year. What percentage is it? So if I write 75 out of 3,000, I get 1/40th or 0.025. That's a fraction or a decimal. To change it to a percentage, times it by 100, and we get 2.5. So it's 2.5%. And again, we can check this by working out backwards. So 2.5% of £3,000 is £75, and 6 times that, £450. Question 20. Simplify m squared cubed. So it's m squared times itself and times itself again. But the quick way of doing it is when we've got a bracket, we just times the 2 powers. 2 3s make 6. So it's m to the power of 6, or 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. When we multiply indices, we add the powers. So x to the power of 5 plus x to the power of 8 is x to the power of 13. It's 5x's times together multiplied by 8x's times together. So in total, we've got 13 x's times together. And part C, expand. So that means take out of brackets, times then times 4p times p squared. So 4 and p times p squared is p cubed. P times p times p. 4 times 3 is 12. And p times p makes p squared. Question 21. Johnny wants to know how much coffee he will need for 800 people at a meeting. Each person who drinks coffee will drink 2 cups, 10.6 grams of coffee for each cup. So 2 cups, 10.6 grams per cup. So 2 10.6s. That is 21.2 grams per person. Johnny assumes 68% of people will drink coffee. So we want 68% of 800. So when we have a percent, when we have an of, we can change it into a times. When we have a percent, we can either leave it like that and type it in the calculator, or change it to a decimal by dividing it by 100. So it's 0.68 times of 800. 0.68 times 800, so 68% of 800 is 544 people. So we've got 544 people. For each one, we need 21.2 grams. So in total, we have 11,532.8 grams of coffee. 11,532.8 grams of coffee. It says give your answer correctly nearest gram. So it's closer to 11,533 than it is to 11,532. Johnny's assumption is wrong. 72% of people will drink coffee. How does this affect your answer? So that's more. So he will need more coffee. So the answer will be too small. He will need to have more coffee. Question 22. ACF and ADG are straight lines. We've got 2 parallel lines, BCD and EFG. We can see that from the arrows. And we've got some angles marked on. Show that triangle ACD, this top one here, is isosceles. So we're just working out these angles in this top triangle. So we've got angles on a straight line. So angles on a straight line add up to 180. 180 take away 110 is 70 degrees. So angles on a straight line add to 180 degrees. We've got 125 here. We've got parallel lines. So this one's exactly the same. When we've got two sets of parallel lines and a line that goes through them, these angles here are exactly the same in both sets. The angles made with both parallel lines are identical. So we have the same angles on both parallel lines. So this 125 is the same as this 125, and they are called corresponding angles. So the same angle on the other parallel line, so the blue and the blue, the red and the red, the purple and the purple, the black and the black, they're corresponding angles. And then we can use angles in a straight line again. So 180 take away 125 will be 55. And again, angles on a straight line. And then we've got angles on a triangle. So 180 take away the 55 and the 70 gives us 55. Angles in a triangle. So I've given a reason for each stage of my working, like I was asked to, and we can see it's isosceles. An isosceles triangle has two angles the same. So two angles the same, therefore isosceles. Question 23. It takes 14 hours for 5 identical pumps to fill a water tank. How many hours will it take for 4 of these tanks to fill another water tank the same size? So this is inverse proportion. So it's inversely proportional. So the more pumps we have, the less time it takes. If we have double the number of pumps, it takes half the time. If we have half the pumps, it takes double the time. So it takes 14 hours for 5 pumps. If we do 14 times 5, which is 70 hours, it will take 70 hours for just one pump. So if we just had one pump, that's 70 hours. We've got 70 hours of work to be done. And if we've got 4 pumps, we can split those 70 hours between 4 and get 17.5 hours. So we can see it takes more time because we've got less pumps working. So 14 hours for 5, 17.5 hours for 4. Question 24. A and B are numbers such that A is 2 squared times 3 to the power of 4 times 7. If you wanted to work out what number it is, we could. 3 to the power of 4 times 7. It is 2,268. B is 3 squared times 7 squared. So B is 441. Find the highest common factor of A and B, but we don't really need to know what numbers they are because they're broken down into their prime factors. So for the highest common factor, we just want to know what's in common, really. So what they got in common, they've both got 3 squared, 2 3s, and they've both got a 7. A has got 2 more 2s and 2 more 3s, and B has got another 7. So the highest common factor are the numbers in common multiplied together. 3 times 3 times 7, which is 63. Find the lowest common multiple of A and B. So that's all of these numbers multiplied together. 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 7 times 3. All of them multiplied together, not double counting. We don't double count the ones in the middle. We only count them once. So we can say it's A, which is all of these numbers multiplied together. All of these numbers multiplied together make A, and then times 7. So it's 2,268, which we've already worked out, times 7, which is 15,876. So the smallest number in both of these times tables is 15,876. Question 25. Lava flows from a volcano at a constant rate of 11.9 meters cubed per second. How many days does it take for 67,205,600 meters cubed of lava to flow from the volcano? Give your answer correct to the nearest day. So let's work out how many seconds it takes. So it's 11.9 meters cubed per second. So this is the total amount of lava. And it's 11.9 meters cubed of it comes out in every second. So that is 5647529 meters cubed, no, seconds, that's how many seconds it takes. Keeping the whole number in the calculator, I need to change this seconds now into days. So seconds into days. So I can change it into minutes by dividing it by 60. So 5, 6, 4, 7, 5, 2, 9. Keeping the number in the calculator though. Divide it by 60. 94125. 94125 minutes. Again, keeping that number in the calculator. I've rounded it here. I don't want to round it. So let's change it into hours. So divide by 60 again. 1,568 hours. But we want days, so divide by 24. So how many days is 1,568 hours? 65.3. 65.3 days. So that is 65 days to the nearest day. So I wrote rounded numbers here, but be careful not to round too soon in your calculations. It's better to keep the whole number in the calculator. Question 26. Here is a graph of y equals x squared minus 2x minus 2. Write down the coordinates of the turning point. The turning point is where it turns. So it's this bottom point here. It's at 1, -3. Write down an estimate for one of the roots of x squared minus 2x minus 2 equals 0. So it's the same graph where it's equal to 0 is where it crosses the x-axis. So we're here and we are here. So we only need one of them, and they are at 2.7. Or we could also write minus 0.7. But we only need one of them for that mark. Question 27. A solid cuboid is made of metal. We've got a density equals mass over volume, of 9 grams per centimeter cubed. The volume is 72 centimeters cubed. Work out the mass. So rearranging density equals mass over volume. We get mass is density times volume. So it's 9 times 72, 648. Question 28. Write 9 times 10 to the power of 4, 2, so the ratio, 9 times 10 to the power of 4, to 4.5 times 10 to the power of 6, in the form 1 to n, where n is an integer. So we could turn these into ordinary numbers. That would be 90,000 and 4.5 million. But all we really have to do is divide them both by the same thing. If we want this one to be 1, it's the form 1 to n, we're going to divide by 9 times 10 to the power of 4. And if I divide this one by 9 times 10 to the power of 4, I'm going to divide the other one by 9 times 10 to the power of 4 as well. So 4.5 times 10 to the power of 6, so that's 4.5 million, divided by 9. I'm going to do this again actually. I'm going to use the fraction button. So I'm going to get 4.5 times 10 to the power of 6 divided by 9 times 10 to the power of 4. And that is 50. So it's 1 to 50. 1 to 50. And write the following numbers in order of size. Start with the smallest number. So we can convert all of these into ordinary numbers, and we can use the calculator to do it. So 5.625 times 10 to the power of 4. is 56,250. This one, 5,625, is already an ordinary number. 56,250 divided by 10 three times, 56.25, and 0.005625 times 10 five times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 562.5. So where's the smallest one? This one's the smallest. No, it's not. 56.25 is the smallest. Then 562, 5,625, then 56,000. So let's just write them out. And that is our answer.